Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Thursday is upon us, and on Thursday we throw back to the good times, and like he does every Thursday every other week, Ruben Mpima takes charge, and he takes us back into the years in the world of music. The question is, how deep is your love today, this morning? Well, I'm sure you love us enough to tune in to Good Morning UBC and watch Good Morning Uganda every single morning, and we don't take that for granted. Good morning once again. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Thank you so much for being a part of the national broadcaster and of course of watching Good Morning Uganda. Right next to me is Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono, and in Studio B is Chantal Olive Akandinda and Jerome Paul Sonko. Now, when it comes to the garbage crisis that we have been facing in Kampala City since the crisis in Chitezi landfill, there is a reprieve as for now, because now KCCA has found a new temporary landfill that is in Menvu, Nansana. This comes after the grace period that had been given to KCCA by Entebbe Municipal Council expired on Monday. So they had to find an alternative site for garbage collection and management. So longer solutions, long-term solutions are being explored, but for now, there will be Menvu landfill in Nansana. I believe that is good news. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning to you. Wow.
What?
You're smart.
Thank you.
I love the blue throat. Of course, the cameras can't get what is down there. I won't talk about it, but you're smart. Now, going back to the Kampala garbage crisis, I'm happy that we have gotten a place in Nansana. That is around 12 acres. Now, the people of Nansana is back again. There's a time we were talking of Nansana, but it's back again. You're blessed.
Blessed to have tried.
No, you listen to this.
Okay.
Because there are terms and conditions that Nansana Municipal Council put up.
Yes.
Now, already as we speak, graders are working on the road, among others. So this landfill comes with some benefits, at least, that the roads are going to be worked on, and a number of issues that were raised in the meeting that happened yesterday, where we saw the first Deputy Prime Minister, we saw the Minister for Kampala, the Minister for Works. It had a multi-sectoral approach to the garbage issue. It wasn't only about KCCA, now it was government. When you have Honorable Rebecca Kadaga chair the meeting, Misa Kabanda, Honorable Katumba Wamala, the heads of KCCA, all those come together. So Nansana here is yet another blessing in disguise for you, because opportunity comes to those who are prepared. Now, how do you make best use of these many trucks that are going to be coming your way? The road that is going to be worked on is upon you people of Nansana.
At least now we know that the mountains of trash or garbage that have been raising in markets and in and around the city are now going to be something of the past. But we still are keeping our ears on the ground to know what long-term plans KCCA has, and whether or not this will not become an issue later on if the Nansana Municipal Council decides to also push them out of their municipality. Now going to Studio B, good morning, Jerome Paul.
Good morning to you, Monica, and good morning, our viewer. Good morning, Robert, and well, of course, my partner in crime in Studio B here, Chantal Oliver Kandinda. Yesterday, there was a sad report that I got to watch. I think it was even a day before, where I think a person with disability was pregnant, and the story behind this lady being pregnant was the fact that she was raped by a gang. And you know, when I looked at this humanitarian story, lots of things were going into my mind at the time, because it was a worrying story, and it was more intriguing because you get to look at it in the way that this particular person is living in a society which does not even give room for inclusivity, and at the same time is you know, facing this kind of life that is going to be part of her for the rest of her stay on earth. Because you can imagine that trauma for you being impregnated, but not only being impregnated, but you're a person with disability, and at the top of it you've been raped. And we don't even know, because as the investigations are ongoing, they are yet to ascertain or find out who are the people responsible for this. And well, of course, it kind of painted a picture of certain goons in society that we do have that seem to be not just violent, but people who normally do things, and you wonder whether their mental health or their mental stability is it one to question. But that wouldn't be something I want to start with this particular Thursday. Yesterday, a musician, Edirisa Musuza, who is also a husband to Honorable Fiona Nyamtoro, was appointed as a presidential advisor on matters creatives. And well, of course, social media over the past few hours has gone up in the air in regards to this particular appointment, mainly because of the fact that some people feel the creative industry is way bigger. Some feel that the music industry is going to be getting the lion's share. Others are not really sure about whether the gentleman who was chosen to take on that particular position will be one to pick up. But maybe for many of people who have been picking inspiration from the same gentleman, who is using a stage name as Eddie Kenzo, you will definitely say what a lucky man he is when you look at how he has been moving into different positions in the past 10 years. But that aside, it's a Thursday, and I'm glad we are close to ending the week.
Well, interesting news coming in, especially when it comes to the appointment of Eddie Kenzo as Senior Presidential Advisor on Matters Creatives. Chantal, do you still believe that education is the key?
That's a very interesting question. I'm not sure how I should handle it.
Handle it whatever.
But, let me just say, it can be a key. Yeah.
It can be a key. That
Please,
leaves a lot
I am
to
not
be
being
desired.
political. It's just what it is. It can be the key. It can. You never know, depending on how you apply it and what level of education, what type of education. So it can.
All right.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on the new appointment of Eddie Kenzo? First of all, is it one of those grass to grace kind of stories that inspires you? That would inspire you, maybe?
Well, I would be inspired if I were looking at having such a government office or something like that. Maybe I would say grass to grace, but I think Eddie Kenzo has been living in a certain grace for a long period of time, and maybe this is a different kind of grace, and you know, we congratulate him. You asked me a question, is this one of the stories, and I'm thinking probably not, and probably it is one of those stories. For someone out there who has lived a life in the past like Eddie Kenzo, we know where he came from, then definitely this is a story from grass to grace. This is a story that would be inspiring to them, so it's 50-50.
All right. Anyway, we are the national broadcaster, and one of our mandates is to entertain you. But before we entertain you, we inform you. So we have news, and we are launching into that right about now.
Well, we begin with His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda, who met and held discussions with the African Union Commissioner for Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy and Sustainable Environment, His Excellency Ambassador Josepha Sako, who paid a courtesy call on him yesterday afternoon at State House in Entebbe. The ambassador was accompanied by the Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Honorable Frank Tumwebaze. President Museveni and his guests discussed preparations for hosting the forthcoming extraordinary agriculture summit of heads of state and government in Kampala in January next year.
Now moving on, the Prime Minister of Uganda, Robina Nabbanja, has commended the development support rendered by the government of Italy and Avis, a civil society organization working in Uganda towards the skilling of the Ugandan youth in the fight against unemployment in Uganda. Nabbanja was giving a keynote address at the 45th edition of the Rimini meeting held in Italy. The Prime Minister, Robina Nabbanja, on arrival at Bologna International Airport in Italy, was received by the Ugandan ambassador to Italy, Elizabeth Paula Napeyok. Nabbanja is in Italy to represent the country at the 45th edition of the Rimini meeting. The Ugandan Premier is accompanied by the State Minister for Agriculture, Fred Bwino Kulaga, and the Executive Director of the Uganda Investment Authority, Robert Mukiza. Nabbanja commended the Italian government and Avis, a civil society organization working in Uganda, for the continued support, especially the skilling of the Ugandan youth. Nabbanja is also in Italy to foster cooperation with Italian companies to support the Ugandan farmers in value addition to coffee. Stephen Tumukunjize, a Ugandan youth, is one of the successful stories after he was trained by Avis in coffee value chain.
Moving on now on the political arena. Earlier this week, FDC delegates and members of the Katonga faction from different corners of the country convened at the Katonga base headquarters for a national delegates conference. Unveiling the NEC report, Katonga Interim President Elias Lukwago and Ambassador Waswa Bidigo, among others, revealed that they had challenged their Najana Nkumbi counterparts home and away, including in courts of law. They thus threatened to dissolve and split away from the unifying FDC party and come up with a new independent party, a motion that was seconded by the delegates. However, Wednesday morning, the Najana Nkumbi Best faction responded, and Patrick Oboy Amriat referred to the delegates' conference as a purported controversial gathering. According to the Chief Whip, Yusuf Nsibambi, about the Katonga leadership and conference amid his pending court cases, this was his response, where he said all carried no water. Najana Nkumbi faction persists. There is no way Katonga faction can bury FDC whatsoever. Power said all the resolutions made at the National Delegates Conference were null and void.
Now looking into matters KCCA, following the elapse of a 4-day grace period given by Entebbe Municipal Council leadership, Kampala Capital City Authority has announced that the garbage will now be disposed of at Menvu Nasana landfill. The decision comes after the collapse of the Kitezi landfill, leading to severe disruptions in waste management, causing garbage to accumulate in various parts of the city. Despite efforts to secure Katabi Nkumba landfill as Despite efforts to secure Katabi Nkumba landfill as a temporary solution, the 4-day grace period expired on Monday, the 19th of August 2024. From then, KCCA leadership has been facing an uphill task in identifying where next to dispose garbage that keeps piling in and around the city, especially in markets. Fortunately, the intervention of the Prime Minister Robina Nabanja has yielded good in the struggle, resolving that Menvu in Nasana will serve as the new landfill for garbage disposal, while long-term solutions are being explored. Now that does it in our local news. Let's focus on international news by Chantal Olive.
Now, internationally, Ukraine has launched one of its largest drone attacks on Moscow as it presses on with major incursion into Russia's Kursk region, Russian authorities said. Russia's Ministry of Defense said yesterday that air defense forces shot down 11 drones over Moscow and its surrounding region, with some reportedly downed over the city of Podolsk, some 38 kilometers south of the Kremlin. This is one of the largest ever attempts to attack Moscow with drones, Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin said on Telegram, the messaging app. No damage or casualties were reported. Drone attacks on Moscow are rare. Ukraine's latest attempt to target the Russian capital appeared to be larger than the attack in May 2023, when at least 8 drones were struck down. The barrage was part of a broader attack on Russia, with the Ministry of Defense saying its air defense units destroyed 48 Ukrainian drones in total overnight. In addition to the 11 drones destroyed over the Moscow region, 23 drones were downed in the border region of the Bryansk, 6 in the border region of Belgorod, 3 in the Kaluga region, which borders the Moscow region to its northeast, and 2 in the embattled Kursk region, the ministry said. Moving on, the country will shortly trigger the European Union Civil Protection Mechanism to bolster firefighting efforts with 2 Canadian water bomber planes, a government source told Lusa news agencies, and the country in this case is Portugal. The head of the regional government, Miguel Albuquerque, said 60 extra firefighters and first aid specialists had arrived from the Portuguese mainland on top of 76 already sent since the wildfire started on Wednesday last week. The fire had burned 4,392 hectares of land up to Tuesday, the European Union's Copernicus Observatory said on the X social media platform. It added that more than 950 hectares had burned in the previous 24 hours. Regional Civil Protection Chief Antonio Nunes told RTP Public Television that the flames had touched a part of the Lorisilva forest, the largest surviving laurel forest that is on UNESCO's World Heritage list. He said the damage was not significant. And lastly, Africa's top public health agency says Democratic Republic of Congo and other countries on the continent could start vaccinating against Mpox within days. The DRC is the epicenter of a more deadly strain of the virus that emerged last year and has subsequently spread to some 12 other African states, with confirmed cases in at least 3 countries outside the continent. Last week, the World Health Organization declared the spread of the new strain a public health emergency of international concern. The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says vaccine doses are due to arrive shortly. Now, this follows pledges by the European Union, vaccine maker Bavarian Nordic, the United States, and Japan. The center says it has been working on logistics and communication strategies with others experiencing Mpox outbreaks in order to facilitate the rollout. Its Director General, Jean Kaseya, said it was important to make sure everything was properly in place to ensure the vaccines will be safely stored and correctly administered. And that is it for our international stories.
Well, thank you, Chantal. Now we have the press review with Jerome Paul Sonko.
Well, now, this is some good news for the women in business, because according to the New Vision this Thursday, banks have been given 29 billion shillings for women loans, and the government has released these funds at 10% interest, at a 10% interest rate. Then also 70 oil wells ready to start production. That is from the natural resources perspective. And in the O-level exams, physics and sample exam and sample questions for the candidates. Then in the court, verbatim, bullet that killed Katanga was fired at close range, says pathologist, in the new investigations being revealed to court. Now, hundreds pay tribute to Makuya. That is what the New Vision is highlighting. Then relationships, managing office romance. Find details in the New Vision. Then the Daily Monitor is migration paradox, mixed messages. New survey shows Ugandans remain welcoming to foreigners but want controls imposed, while the more educated want to leave the country for greener pastures abroad. There is a 42%, more than 4 in 10 Ugandans, that is 42%, say they have contemplated the possibility of leaving the country. Majority of the group is the most educated, 59%, with post-secondary education at 51%, aged 18 to 35 years. Now, besides that, we turn our focus on the Church of Uganda reclaiming title to beloved church house. That is with the Daily Monitor also. Now in DM today, matters relationships. 10 years of infertility made our bond unbreakable. Read about that report from that married couple. Then albinism beauty contest seeks to illuminate diversity in all its forms. Then also pathologist reveals Katanga shooting was at close range. And then science head teachers want demotion for better salary. That is with the Daily Monitor. Now moving on to the Daily Nation. In Kenya, State House hand in Mwangaza Oster. In the matters politics, the delegation reportedly pleaded with President Ruto to stay clear of this matter. Now the CBK governor finally reveals German firm that won 14 billion Kenyan shillings deal to print new Kenyan notes. Now Ruto to formally unveil Raila candidacy for African Union chairmanship post, as a mother's painful search for missing son is revealed in the Daily Nation. Now strike on as unions and TSC pay talks collapse. And also Jijiri jailbreak, the money trail. More of the investigations regarding that jailbreak in the Daily Nation. Now lastly, from the press review, East African Community's single currency now pushed to 2031, according to the Citizen. The decision comes despite progress made on several fronts, including the establishment of the East African Payment System and the development of legal instruments for the monetary union. Then meet bare-handed Masiba, who captures and relocates swarms of bees. And then in business partnerships, Rwanda seeks to join Kenya-EU Trade Pact. As TPDC ramps up natural gas production, then also Tanzania sets sights on becoming Africa's premium graphite producer. And that is it for our press review.
Now, I did promise that we will entertain you, and we will take a short break and leave you with Sweetest Girl Ever by Wycliffe Jean, featuring Akon, Lil Wayne and Nia. Enjoy.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Thursday is upon us, and on Thursday we throw back to the good times, and like he does every Thursday every other week, Ruben Mpima takes charge, and he takes us back into the years in the world of music. The question is, how deep is your love? today, this morning? Well, I'm sure you love us enough to tune in to Good Morning UBC and watch Good Morning Uganda every single morning, and we don't take that for granted. Good morning once again. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Thank you so much for being a part of the national broadcaster and of course of watching Good Morning Uganda. Right next to me is Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono, and in Studio B is Chantal Olive Akandinda and Jerome Paul Sonko. Now, when it comes to the garbage crisis that we have been facing in Kampala City since the crisis in Chitezi landfill, there is a reprieve as for now, because now KCCA has found a new temporary landfill that is in Menvu, Nansana. This comes after the grace period that had been given to KCCA by Entebbe Municipal Council expired on Monday. So they had to find an alternative site for garbage collection and management. So longer solutions, long-term solutions are being explored, but for now, there will be Menvu landfill in Nansana. I believe that is good news. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning to you. Wow.
What?
You're smart.
Thank you.
I love the blue throat. Of course, the cameras can't get what is down there. I won't talk about it, but you're smart. Now, going back to the Kampala garbage crisis, I'm happy that we have gotten a place in Nansana. That is around 12 acres. Now, the people of Nansana is back again. There's a time we were talking of Nansana, but it's back again. You're blessed.
Blessed to have tried.
No, you listen to this.
Okay.
One of the, because there are terms and conditions that Nansana Municipal Council put up.
Yes.
Now, already as we speak, graders are working on the road, among others. So this landfill comes with some benefits, at least, that the roads are going to be worked on, and a number of issues that were raised in the meeting that happened yesterday, where we saw the first Deputy Prime Minister, we saw the Minister for Kampala, the Minister for Works. It had a multi-sectoral approach to the garbage issue. It wasn't only about KCCA, now it was government. When you have Honorable Rebecca Kadaga chair the meeting, Mr. Kabanda, Honorable Katumba Wamala, the heads of KCCA, all those come together. So Nansana here is yet another blessing in disguise for you, because opportunity comes to those who are prepared. Now, how do you make best use of these many trucks that are going to be coming your way? The road that is going to be worked on is upon you people of Nansana.
At least now we know that the mountains of trash or garbage that have been raising in markets and in and around the city are now going to be something of the past. But we still are keeping our ears on the ground to know what long-term plans KCCA has, and whether or not this will not become an issue later on if the Nansana Municipal Council decides to also push them out of their municipality. Now, going to Studio B, good morning, Jerome Paul.
Good morning to you, Monica, and good morning, our viewer. Good morning, Robert, and well, of course, my partner in crime in Studio B here, Chantal Olive Akandinda. Yesterday, there was a sad report that I got to watch. I think it was even a day before, where I think a person with disability was pregnant, and the story behind this lady being pregnant was the fact that she was raped by a gang. And you know, when I looked at this humanitarian story, lots of things were going into my mind at the time, because it was a worrying story, and it was more intriguing because you get to look at it in the way that this particular person is living in a society which does not even give room for inclusivity, and at the same time is you know, facing this kind of life that is going to be part of her for the rest of her stay on earth. Because you can imagine that trauma for you being impregnated, but not only being impregnated, but you're a person with disability, and at the top of it, you've been raped. And we don't even know, because as the investigations are ongoing, they are yet to ascertain or find out who are the people responsible for this. And well, of course, it kind of...
There are times when we were pamoja, the same people.
Tuko pamoja? Catch this in Ishaka Bushenyi at Berlin Hotel on Saturday, 31st August, and in Barra at Las Vegas Garden Hotel on Sunday, 1st September 2024. To get a ticket, call 0778 787 660.
Junko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Junko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning. I'm Olive Monica Najama. Thank you for sticking with us. This is time for our news bill, 7 minutes past 7 o'clock on this Thursday morning. Right next to me is Chirabo Robert Nyonyintono, and on the other side in Studio B, there is Chantal Olive Akandinda and Jerome Paul Sonko. Now this week, we have really delved into the question of education in our country. The education sector is one that has taken so much interest for us this week, but it is because in a country you have about two sectors that are quite major and the bedrock of a country, and that is health and education. And once both of these are well attended to, then the country can actually reap where it has sowed. Now, science teachers are urging the government to pay more attention to special needs children or students when it comes to the education curriculum. And their focus was on the new O-level curriculum, but would like to look at it in its entirety, because before they join secondary school, there are still issues there in primary school and maybe even in kindergartens. So we would like to look at that and see, why is it important to prioritize special needs or people living with disabilities in our education system? So you can join the conversation, you can give us your views, you can ask some questions, you can even give guidance, and you can do this through WhatsApp number 0709602592. You can send a direct message. Please remember to leave your name so that we know who we are talking to. Now, going to Studio B, first of all, I would like to start where Jerome Paul is. Jerome, you and I are not people living with disabilities, so our learning has pretty much been very smooth, and grappling with many lessons and subjects has been maybe a walk in the park as compared to our counterparts that are living with different kinds of disabilities. So why, in your perspective, would you think that it is important to prioritize the people living with disabilities when we are designing our national curriculums?
I think in this case it takes all of them, because there are people who are not basically looked at as persons with disabilities, but are people who are characterized as special needs people.
Okay.
And it takes a whole bunch. And why it is important, per se, to include or to prioritize special needs cases in Uganda's education system today is one of the most important bits is our topic of discussion today, inclusivity itself. Because as much as we are looking at inclusion of these special persons, you have to make sure that at least you create that atmosphere that allows them to be part of society so that they can feel that they are equal to each other, or they are equal to all of us. And that particular atmosphere in the long run kind of creates a growth, a positive growth mentality for these people, and it also creates an atmosphere and an environment that will enable special needs children, for example, to learn and feel comfortable around their colleagues. Because when you look at one of the reasons behind many of the special needs children dropping out or not completing school, for example, or even persons with disability, you get to realize that many of them have found, have not found it easy while they are in society or even in schools, because some of them ideally left out. Some of the teachers are not well trained and versed with teaching these particular people or taking care of these people. And it becomes very difficult, and it creates, you know, an unbalanced learning environment for anyone. And if at all we are looking for inclusivity, that is one of the most important things. Now, the other point would definitely be to prepare children or even students for a world that is filled with adversity. That you're in a world where you're going to meet different people, various people, you're going to be interacting with various people. And I like the fact that you've acknowledged that when we are to draw in an example of our education, it may not have been that difficult, just so as the people who are facing, you know, these cases of, let's say if at all someone is disabled, or someone is actually having a special need kind of, you know, syndrome that they are living with or they were born with. So you get to realize that if at all I grew up or studied with people who are not characterized to be of special needs, I don't know how to deal with them. But if at all in our education we prioritize and we include these people in our education, it is going to give them, you know, that kind of sense of belonging, to know that they are part of society, to know that they are part, especially for the children really, to know that they are not segregated, to know that they are not left out, and they can easily interact with fellow students.
Well, thank you so much, Joram. Now, and I like that you did mention there are people living with disabilities. There are others called special needs children. And among these, you'll find that some are deaf, that some are actually dyslexic, which means that the way they grapple concepts is not at the same pace as their other counterparts. And there are others who are blind, but they're still going through school. So when you do have a one-size-fits-all of them, sometimes it might work to the detriment of most of these students. So, Chirabo, I would like to know, in your opinion, what specific areas and should the government look at when they're trying to redesign the curriculum so that all of these children are considered?
Well, thank you so much, Monica. First and foremost is the funding. When I was looking at the budget of Ministry of Education and Sports, public financing for special needs education accounts for only 0.1% of the education sector budget. Now, that is very little money for a sector to cater for special needs. Remember, these children are already vulnerable. Unlike their counterparts, for them they're already vulnerable. Now, that means that certain requirements have to be bought to assist in their learning. Even if it's the new curriculum, do they have the braille? You know, if those that cannot see, those cannot hear, do they have the hearing gadgets that can assist them. You go to something simple as infrastructure development in terms of movement. You know, some classes, some are flats. Can they get there? When we go to the washrooms, do they have special places? Because you may have a sweet curriculum, but what enables the challenge of these children is the gadgets needed for them to perform as others do. Now, even if you design your curriculum very well, but what you're going to teach for this child who can't see, they're not going to be able to read it like I do and you do.
So you have to make sure they
So
have
you have
resources.
to make sure they have what can aid them to read.
Yes.
You must make sure they have what can aid them to hear. You have to make sure they have what can aid them for mobility purposes. Because they may not even be able to go to that metal workshop, woodwork workshop that you're talking about, because they can't move. You have to make sure that you have the right teachers, special needs teachers. How many do we have in this country? There are very, very few. And what is funny, that even some schools do not have, as government is recruiting, do not have a special needs teacher. So it's these other teachers that did not specify in that are conducting the teaching of special needs. When it comes to health, you know, how are you going to address these children? I've seen, you mentioned those that are slow pickers, extremely slow pickers, but once they get something, they'll have
They are very smart. They're usually very smart,
yeah.
yes.
Now, how are you going to address these challenges? So, the syllabus can be turned in any way. But if we do not have these that aid them, I don't know if when you're going to school, you had an opportunity. I call it an opportunity because it expressed you to understand, to study with a person with a disability. Now, I did. And what was very interesting, this person was very bright, but had one challenge. The challenge was mobility. But at a particular time, this person got a wheelchair. Because you'd go for preps, they were a bit a distance from the dormitories. Now, you know, when you've all come from prep, you're tired and that bell to go to the dormitory rings. All of us would run to go and sleep, to go maybe and make tea. This person would come last. Had to wait, who is going to help me to go? Down with.
There were stairs.
Yeah, there
was
stairs.
no ramp.
There wasn't. So, no matter how good what this person had to grasp, but the mobility issue was a challenge. Till they said, no, why should you go for prep up there? You come and use the staff room. You don't need to go up with the rest. So I think we must majorly improve the budget allocation. The 0.1%, because it's a report of around 2007, is so minimal. To provide the gadgets and the learning equipments, and then the teachers that truly understand the special needs. I'm happy that during examinations, the national examination, they have some extension of time.
Oh, they do?
They give them.
Okay.
Some extension of time. Think about, is it 30 minutes? So that is something good. That they consider that this person, yes, we need to give them some extension of time because maybe they have challenges that others do not have. Yes.
Well, interesting take, Robert. Thank you. Now, Chantal, there is the argument that when it comes to enrollment into universities, that special needs students are sometimes given under the belt courses, and that they are not given a chance to compete favorably with their friends or counterparts that are not living with any disability or special needs. So how can universities address this imbalance to provide more inclusive education to persons living with to persons living with disabilities and also those that have special needs?
It's going to take us going to being deliberate. When you look at some of these universities and how they are structured, for example, do they have, those that have stairs, do they have, can I call them rails, or do they have even an elevator that is supposed to be enabling these students with disabilities to get to the third floor, second floor, whichever floor they're supposed to be at to attend their classes. Take a look at most of the universities that we have in the country. That is the first that's the first step to inclusion. You're providing an environment that enables them to be in there and not feel frustrated or stressed out. Then the next thing is, if someone is blind, that means it doesn't make their brain blind, right? If someone is deaf, it doesn't mean that their brain does not understand. So it's going to take us changing our mindset. Some do it out of pity. They're seeing you in a wheelchair, but yes, maybe someone's legs are crippled, but their mind is not crippled, and it's going to have to go to someone's mindset changing for the better, for them to be able to know that, listen, much as someone has a disability somewhere, it's not something that should take them to a course that they can't do or that they shouldn't do, or a course that, you know, that, can I say, does not, a course that
it does not enable them to maximize their full potential,
because they actually do have potential, and still it goes back down to our attitude towards the people with disabilities, and also, is our education sector catering for them? You know, someone will ask, so who is going to hire, apparently, who is going to hire someone in a wheelchair? But listen, in some countries, it's actually a mandate that when you are hiring, if, for example, you are a private entity, you have to be inclusive in your hiring process. On your team or in your organization, there has to be someone that represents the people with disabilities. So that means when you're hiring, you're not going to hire everyone. You're not going to hire someone and say that I'm not going to hire someone who is in a wheelchair because they may slow us down or they may not work as expected. You have to be inclusive. So at the end of the day, it's going to take us going back down to being deliberate and making sure that we change our attitude towards thinking that people with disability are not good enough. And you know, back then they were even enrolling in school. Initiatives started not too long ago, as a geography student, not too long ago. And whenever a parent would produce a child with a disability, they would say, "Oh, no mwana wange wakuchi," something like that. This is my child that I cannot put out there. They don't take them to school. They don't expose them to other children. Yet, if some of these kids are exposed to environments with other children, to equal treatment, you know, to assistance where need be, then they would be happier and be in a better place. But then our minds are stuck to, they are disabled, so they cannot perform to full potential. So it's right here that we need to start with.
It's the mindset.
Yes.
Now, when you look at some job adverts lately, you will see that at the bottom they put people living with disabilities are also advised to apply. But do you think that in some instances it is just done to fulfill an obligation that you must put it there to encourage these people, but at the end of the day they are still passed over?
There is a possibility that something like that happens, and the unfortunate bit here is that unless we have inside information with evidence attached, we may not be in position to prove it. But yes, it's more like how you've had stories of, they have already recruited, or they already know who is taking the position, but they'll still go ahead and call for what? Call for applications and interviews, for the sake of being accountable that they actually ran a recruitment process. But ideally, it was hoodwinking people.
Now, on the same note, Joram, how can job allocation be adopted so that people with the special needs can also be included? Because there is one point educating them, and then it's another having them gainfully employed.
Before we even go there, I was looking at some of the statistics when it comes to the education. 2% currently of children with special needs are enrolled in primary.
Oh yeah, it's only 2%.
2%. Now also look at 16% of children in Uganda are having a disability.
But only 2% of them are
enrolled in primary. Now let's move into the question you asked. When it comes to preparing or having the employment open for persons with disability or even special needs people, we get back to the issue of inclusivity. Remember, when a job is advertised, they are looking for people with skills, they are looking for people with qualifications. Now, the issue here is some of them do not have the qualifications, and it's sad to hear. However much we are calling in, however much civil society players are calling the government to include persons with disabilities or include job placements for people with disabilities. But you get to realize that the players themselves, for example, this private sector players, in most cases they advertise for jobs that they feel need people with qualifications, which at times becomes quite unfortunate for persons with disability, because when you look at some of
those that actually have the qualifications, they went to school, they are done with school, they have the qualifications, but when it comes to employment, probably they are passed over.
Now, when it comes to the issue of employment and being passed over, I think we as a country are not inclusive as we think we are. Because even when you happen to go to most of the public service offices or government offices, I tell you, it will be very rare to find a number of persons with special needs or persons with disability being employed. Do these places
even have the facilities that would accommodate persons living with...
Do we even have those facilities? Because you get to realize, do we even have, let's say, working conditions that can pretty much welcome these people, or special kind of care that they will receive at work? Because best believe these people may be as human as we are, but why we say they are people with special needs is because they need some special attention for them to, at a certain point, for them to perform to their best, however much we include them. Now, you get to realize, on my point of inclusivity, why I'm saying that we are not as inclusive as we are, or there is some element of segregation in one way or the other, is that at times, even if someone applies for a job, and persons with disability have always come out with some of these claims that every time they go in for the interviews, one of the reasons as to why some of them miss out on this job employment is simply because of their physicality, because of their physical outlook, and someone is already biased. Of course, the employer will look at you and say, can this particular person really manage to do this sort of job? And you can only imagine certain jobs do not even need a lot of physical output. They would need a lot of the soft skills here and there. So I think it goes back to the society, but then also the background. As if at all we still have only 2% of special needs children in school, in primary,
that's where
that alone leaves a huge gap. And the most worrying bit is that lately the cases of special needs children, I cannot really come out and say I have the right statistics, but at least now these cases are growing every other day.
As of 2014, this was a report by UNICEF. In developing countries, 90% of the children did not attend school. Then 13% of the children in Uganda were living with disabilities, and that was approximately 2.5 million. And that was
chances
a report.
Are highly
yes,
increased.
They've increased because that is a report of 2014. Then of those, only 15% with disabilities in Uganda access education.
The numbers are really glaring and concerning, Chantal. But I would like to come back to you, Robert. When it comes to teachers, do you believe there should be affirmative action when it comes to recruitment and training of teachers?
Well, before I come to that, I just want to go back to something of employment, where government, through URA, that is government. Now, if you are an employer and you can prove that 5% of your employees have disabilities, to URA, then you get a tax exemption on income tax of 2%. So that was put to enable people employ more of persons with
encourage
disability,
them, yes.
to encourage them away from the good laws that we have. The only challenge has been implementation. When you look at the Disability Act, I must say in Africa I have one of the best acts there. So there is so much effort that government is putting to ensure that persons with disability, today we're talking about children with special needs in education, do that. Now you talked about the teachers. Truth be told, when we hear the statistics of how many children are born with special needs, they're really high. When we look at those that go into the education system of our country, Strong has just given us a very good figure. It's still very low. Now, when you look at how many of these schools, I earlier said, the number of government-aided schools that don't have a teacher who specialized or who has training in special needs children. So there must be affirmative action aimed at ensuring that we have more of these teachers, but also ensuring that we find all ways to have aiding gadgets. I want to emphasize this, aiding gadgets to these children that enable them perform like their counterparts who do not have any form of disability.
Thank you, Robert. Well, our time is fast spent, but we've been looking at inclusivity in education. The numbers shared by both Joram Paul and Chantal are glaring, because if we have, Chantal, you said as of 2014, how many special needs children did we have?
In the country, we had about 13% of the total population, which is about 2.5 million.
2.5 million, yes. And 2% of these are the ones that are enrolled in primary school. Yes. Now, that number is not encouraging at all. So policy makers, government, but also the parents, because Joram did mention something, whether Joram or Chantal, that some parents are like, this is my child, and because this is my child, I'm going to protect them. But you see, you can protect them by taking them to school, so that now you empower them to be able to protect themselves at a later stage. Thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning Uganda. I'll share a comment from Robert Okello, watching from Kole Town Council. He says, we love all of you for taking us to the next level of entertainment, education, and information. And then he says, persons with disabilities or special needs deserve special treatment with hospitality to keep them stress-free from trauma that they do have in their lives. And Lucky says, it's a wonderful topic, and he says, those living with hearing impairments are able to pick up what you're discussing. We understand that part, and that's why we are all in this conversation, to find solutions on how we can include everyone. But Good Morning Uganda does continue. Irene Allen Namisango is coming up next with Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
He expected me to die like within the first 2 years.
Out of the blue, the child will get pains, especially in the wrists. And this happens commonly when children are starting to walk.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't go.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
My name is Abel Bakunda, Deputy RDC Kario District. There are so many success stories and achievements that have been registered in Kario District and cutting across all the sectors and departments. The government interest is to have seed schools in almost every sub-county. And so far, the coverage in Kairo, we are still like at 40%. We are starting, but we are moving at a high speed. Then the Uganda Health Center. It is also a success story in the Department of Health. We are so far also government is elevating the Manya Health Center for the district hospital. Then in the Department of Production, there are so many successful farmers moving far away from the traditional subsistence farming to the money economy. Our interventions of yoga and PDM have so far had impacts on ground. Generally, it is good. We are trying, and there are so many success stories that anybody can come and see on ground.
Nyati Motion Pictures brings you Tuko Pamoja Ankole segment. Learn about the fabrication of Ankole Kingdom from Nkore at the detriment of Mpororo states. What is the glue that holds together peoples of the beautiful village of milk and honey?
Ankole as a kingdom came about in 1901. Ankole is a colonial fabrication.
And all these so small kingdoms were counties of the original Itara.
Ruhinda Ruanjunachi,
the son of Wamara Hanjanjojo Rwabwera,
who was a Mchwezi.
There are times when we were Pamoja, the same people.
Tuko Pamoja? Catch this in Ishaka Bushenyi at Berlin Hotel on Saturday, 31st August, and in Barra at Las Vegas Garden Hotel on Sunday, 1st September 2024. To get a ticket, call 0778 787 660.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
It's a great pleasure to know that you are watching UBC TV. Good Morning Uganda. This is the GME Tourism Express with Irene Allen Namisango. I have committed my life, my time to exploring all the diversities that there is in Uganda's tourism. You know, Uganda's tourism is a wide segment or a wide sector. It ranges from safaris, leisure activities, adventure, accommodation, amenities, events, conventions, meetings, like a lot dwells in the tourism sector. Only that when people think about tourism, the only thing that comes in their mind is maybe going on a safari to a national park. Maybe they think about going outside Kampala or to the remote areas, but tourism is beyond their community engagements, city tours. A lot dwells in the tourism sector. And the only reason or the mandate for this show is to dissect everything for you in the tourism sector, for you to understand what is really happening in the tourism sector of Uganda and beyond. What are the trends that are going on? What activities can you do? Where can you go? What is happening in the tourism sector? And today we are going to talk about something different that probably most of you didn't even know that it is also among or part of tourism, and those are the events. Remember, there is MICE, and currently Uganda Tourism Board and Ministry of Tourism, together with the government, have been working so hard to see that they promote MICE tourism in Uganda. They want to position Uganda as a best destination for MICE tourism. And that is leading us to today's topic, which is the role of events in promoting Uganda's tourism. But with me in the studios, I'm with a guest, someone who has organized successful events that are promoting Uganda's culture diversity, that are promoting the different activities in different areas where he's organizing these events. And he's going to explain to us, and we are going to understand a little bit more, what is the role of events in promoting Uganda's tourism. And the person that I'm with today is Demo Riley, the founder of Vumbula Uganda Festival. I'm very sure you've seen this, probably you've also attended this. If you haven't, it is time for you to understand what it is all about and why you should really engage in such events to promote Uganda's tourism. Demo.
Yes, please.
It is nice having you here.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
How is your morning now?
Morning is very awesome. I love the studios and I'm glad to be here.
Oh, that is nice. How do you find the tourism sector? How is the sector taking you lately?
Yeah, the tourism sector is very exciting. And of course, I love that the young people today have engaged. They are very, very vibrant. And it's a good thing because the youth are the future.
Oh, that is nice.
Yes.
Demo, you've organized several editions of Vumbula Uganda. How many so far?
There are quite many, about like 9 editions so far.
And they've been successful.
For the last 4 years.
Yeah, we need to understand.
Yeah.
What was the drive and what do you think, how are they promoting or positioning Uganda as a prime destination for any tourists who would want to come in? Why would a tourist book to come to Uganda for a festival?
Well, first of all, there's what we call the MICE concept in tourism marketing. And it means marketing, you know, meetings, incentives, conferences, and events. And you can see that countries like South Africa, Rwanda have used MICE to position their destinations. And of course, you know, you just mentioned when you were starting that most of the people think that tourism is about nature and, you know, national parks, which is wrong. So events play a very pivotal role in positioning, you know, the country because they have a very big trickle-down effect compared to any other form of, you know, tourism marketing. With the trickle-down effect, I mean that, you know, for example, every time Vumbula Uganda is happening, you'll find that, you know, 15,000 people are paying money directly to me, but, you know, I'll pay the taxes. That means the government is in ginger around the festivals are going to fully booked. You'll find that, you know, 50 vendors are going to, you know, benefit. The hotel, the transportation business, the boda, the coasters, they are all going to make money. Tour operators are going to make money. So they have a very big trickle-down effect compared to, say, let's say having 40, you know, tourists from Germany coming to National Park.
When you talk
so they really provide an opportunity for everyone to engage and also learn about, you know, their country, Uganda.
Like when you're saying that it has a very large trickle down for like for events, but we need to understand when you organize such an event, maybe Vumbula Uganda, how does it highlight out the unique features that we have in Uganda so that it attracts someone to come into the country to explore it?
So with Vumbula Uganda, for example, we do, our mandate is to showcase Uganda. So we do have the exhibitions. We invite, you know, our partners, for example, the hotel owners associations, they exhibit. We do have our partners like the cultural, you know, community cultural associations. They also come and exhibit, and all other tour operators, they come and, you know, sell their itineraries to, you know, our, you know, audience. So when someone comes to, let's say, have a good time, they get to know about, you know, these, you know, offerings that, you know, the country has to offer. And also learn, for example, when every time Vumbula Uganda is happening, you find that during the day people are being engaged in, you know, tubing, they are going to do buggy jumping, they are going to do all these boat cruises and, you know, visit the source of the Nile. So basically it's an opportunity to get all these people to explore their country. But also we should actually understand, as Ugandans, we love to have a good time. Ugandans love a party. You get. So someone may not be necessarily not interested in source of the Nile, you know, but when they come to Vumbula, they will, we shall highlight it through our, you know, lead screens on the festival, and they get to, you know, appreciate their country. Most of them, they don't know some of these, you know, areas.
Apart from Vumbula Uganda, what other festivals do you think have really done an amazing job in positioning Uganda as a tourism destination?
Well, of course, Nyege Nyege has been a very big festival for tourism because you see it draws a lot of people from across the globe, and I really appreciate the work that Ali and the team have done. And I think it's one of those big festivals in the country.
What do you think, or how do you think that such festivals are preserving the cultural heritage that we have in the country?
Well, like I said, someone might come for the party, but, you know, they get to engage in some of these, you know, activities and appreciate their country. So, you know, let's say, for example, you have a Mzungu from Canada, They will come and, attend this festival, but also, get to understand, for example, learn about the dances of Baganda, the dances of, of Basoga, because you'll have those performances there. You'll have the poets, citing their culture, heritage, and whatever. So it really gives an opportunity for the culture to shine and, get these people to really appreciate it. Yes.
What are some of the strategies you think that one can use to organize a successful event? Talk about, because we've had several events in Uganda, tourism events, that have not even seen like maybe their third birthday, because maybe the strategies are not right. When you talk, most of the events that I've seen in the country, I feel like they lack some authenticity, they lack some small bits. Let's say, talk about maybe the Rolex Festival. When I go for the Rolex Festival, I'm expecting to learn some exhibitors to have maybe just stalls telling us how to prepare this. How do I get up with a chapati? How do I prepare the omelette? Where do I get, like, from where I can obtain the omelette? Maybe you show me that these are gotten from maybe farms, or like that authenticity. What strategies are you using, or do you think that one should apply to organize a successful event?
First of all, I think it's very important that passion comes first, but also there's what we call proof of concept. Most of the organizers tend to get away from the real core value or the purpose of the event. For example, Vumbula Uganda, we make sure that yes, you'll find a lot of party people coming, but we do not get away from the purpose of showcasing our country. That's why you'll have the the Karamojong coming through. You'll have the exhibitors there, because the real purpose of the event is to really showcase. So the strategy for me, I would advise, is that make sure in like at least 70% of the activities are around the core value, the real purpose of the festival. Yes, so that is very important. Like you've said, Rolex, let's have, like, let's say a number of people there, the Rolex sellers, teaching people how can we prepare this kind of recipe, how can you prepare this kind of recipe. So the most important strategy is the purpose, sticking to the goal of the festival. Yes.
How are you leveraging the digital space to attract more international tourists into the country for that event, specifically Vumbula Uganda?
Well, as Vumbula Uganda, we are using partnerships to really reach out to that broader audience. We have partners like Trace Music, Trace, broadcasting about 50 countries in Africa. So we have that partnership where they, put out our adverts on their, channels. But also we are using heavily digital marketing, the niche of influencers. We have a very good, community of influencers who amplify our messages. And the artworks, the cool videos showcasing our country, and reach out to that broader audience. Yes.
Oh, well, that is nice to hear from you. And right about now, Demo, because of time, I think we are going to continue this conversation, because I feel like the MICE sector in the tourism segment is the way to go. That is where we are headed, because when you look at the MICE segment, just like you said, it has a very big impact or effect that it brings in the country. So many people earn from this. And just now, in 1 minute, tell the audience about Vumbula Uganda.
Before I tell the audience about Vumbula Uganda, I would love to really call upon the government to create a very conducive environment for the MICE key players, the event organizers, because currently we are facing an issue of overtaxation. I think it's not very fair for most of these upcoming event organizers. They are really grappling with a lot of taxes. You have to pay taxes here and here. So I call upon the government, especially through the Ministry of Tourism, to really make sure that they come through and probably give some incentives through sponsorships, like the way they've supported Amos Wekesa this weekend with 50 million. So let them support events that are really having an impact. But of course, about Vumbula Uganda, yes, we are going to be back in Ujinja at Across the Nile Resort. this October on 25th to 27th. The entrance fee is only 100k and 70k on to be showcasing Uganda like never before.
Oh, thank you so much. It was nice having you in the studio.
It's a pleasure.
And about the Mais Tourism, do not forget that this very weekend on Saturday, we have the Mountain Rwenzori Marathon that is happening in Kasese. It is said, all news has it, that Uganda is experiencing the highest passenger traffic at our Entebbe International Airport. So that means, or that shows you the impact of events in a country. Now imagine how many tourists are coming in to explore Kasese, but also have the marathon run. You know that we have such events that are attracting international tourists to come into the country. So if you have a chance to attend any event that is promoting Uganda's tourism, please, and also entice others to come in to enjoy these events, so that together we position Uganda as a universally acceptable tourism destination. That is it that we had for you today. My name is Irene Alena Misango. See you tomorrow.
Well, good to have your company and good morning. Thank you very much for sticking around. It's a chilly one here in Kampala. For those of you who are catching us across various parts of the country, I am Jerome Paul Sonko. The business does happen from Monday to Thursdays before we switch to Friday edition on a single Fridays here on Good Morning Uganda. But that said, we start off with the cancer run that is slated to happen or occur very soon on the 25th of August 2024. Now, the cancer run activation at Hotel Africana, which was attended by the Rotary Club presidents of Kampala, Sese Islands, Kampala East, Kabarole, Lake Victoria, and then Clark International, led by President David Oweni Singoma, Christine and Fiona, all respectively. The 12th edition of the Rotary Cancer Run, which will happen on Sunday, the 25th of August 2024, will start and have a finishing point at the Uma commercial grounds. Now, the registration fee is fixed at 30,000 Ugandan shillings, and it does come with a well-crafted running vest. Now, during the same activation, Ewan Moses shared his experience on how he battled cancer and finally won it. Now, the prime goal for this year's cancer run is to establish a cancer center in Zambia for radiotherapy with a funding gap of about 9 billion Ugandan shillings. Now, at the top of it, the cancer center will as well be unveiled in 2027, that is 3 years from now, with 3 billion allocated this year. Now, there are 35,000 new cases of cancer, if you're to look at the statistics, as reports suggest that there are 35,000 new cases of cancer in Uganda, with 22,000 resulting in death. Now, the late diagnosis is why they die over the years when you look at the reports that are also following the case and the issues rotating around cancer infections in the country. Now, when you also look at the aim, like I did mention, is aimed at setting up a radiotherapy in Zambia at the and also setting up a cancer center at the same hospital with a funding gap of about 9 billion Ugandan shillings at the end of the day. Now, President Owen Isingoma of Kampala East called out all Rotaractors to support this very cause. Well, now, away from that, we move on to other business details. Now, the Archbishop of Uganda, Dr. Stephen Kazimba Mugalu, commended the Christian community, especially those that subscribe to the Anglican Church or the Church of Uganda, for their support towards the church house loan complete. Now, the church house that is at the center of the city center, for those of you who well conversant about where Mapera House is, and those who are stretching to Wandegea, that is where you can easily find it. Or the Better Direction Center is opposite the Central Bank of Uganda. Now, Dr. Kazimba was officiating the opening of the 27th Provincial Assembly at the Ugandan Christian University in Mukono, where he received the title of Church House from the Equity Bank. Now, over the years, the Church of Uganda has been paying off a loan of over 65 billion Ugandan shillings from Equity Bank, and the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, Stephen Kazimba Mugalu, commended the Christian community for the sacrifice in clearing this particular loan. Now, Equity Bank handed over this land title for the church house, which was mortgaged for a loan of 60 billion Ugandan shillings. The bank also pledged to continue supporting the church through its long-term investments. But that said, Uganda Revenue Authority used the opportunity to engage the clerics in the Provincial Assembly on tax collection and management. Now, besides that, the Provincial Assembly by the Church of Uganda is convened once in 2 years, and it's comprised of delegates from the House of Late, House of Bishops and the House of Clergy to deliberate on the different strategies of guiding the church. Now, away from that, lastly, in matters oil and gas, the oil prospects in Uganda has led to the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development to carry out an additional explorational studies of the oil and gas potential in Uganda. Now, the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development, Ruth Nankabira, revealed the team of geologists are carrying out explorational duties in the Moroto-Kadama Basin. And then addressing the media in Kampala yesterday morning, Honorable Ruth Nankabira also noted that the similar surveys are being undertaken in the Choga Basin with various plans that are underway to initiate studies in the oil basin. Now, geologists say previous analysis acquired by the aeromagnetic data that was as of 1992, the sedimentary section is thick in excess of 3 kilometers and with good structures. Now, other areas to be covered include 2 districts in Buganda, namely Kayunga and Nakasongola, as well as Kiriadongo in Bunyoro districts. And according to the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, the country has an estimated 6 billion barrels of commercially viable oil, of which 1.4 billion barrels is recoverable. Now, on that said, experts say this oil will be consumed in a period of 25 years. Additional information from the Ministry of Energy states that only 40% of the Albertine Graben has been explored, out of which 15% has been licensed so far. Well, that does it for business this morning. Let's look at the forex market, courtesy of the central bank, to see how various currencies are faring on. $19.41 while selling at 3,727.41. And the Great Britain pound was buying at 4,840.81 while selling at 4,853.83. The euros was buying at 4,133.39 while selling at 4,144.51. The Kenyan shilling was buying at 28.82 shillings while selling at 28.89 shillings. The Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.37 while selling at 1.38, and the South African rand was buying at 208.52 while selling at 209.08. And that does it for business this entire week. I'll be back on Monday to give you more details in regards to the business. UBC 8:30 p.m. is the business roundup, giving you a whole round or a wrap-up of the trending business stories within the country, across the region, and on the African continent. Good morning.
Good morning and welcome aboard. Let's see how at the Kalere roundabout, trying to see how to get town now. If you are joining Gayaza Kampala Road on from Kalere roundabout, you will find that there's traffic, especially when you are just exiting the roundabout. And as you can see, when you proceed ahead, if you're trying to join Mawanda Road, brace yourself for some traffic and some slow movement in there until you get to the junction that has Nsora Road and also takes you to Kafero Zone. If you are taking Kafero Zone, you have a bit of traffic that you are headed for slightly ahead as you are approaching the junction that leads you to Dualido Road. So if you're using Kafero Zone as an access route, I discourage you from using it at the moment because there is a bit of traffic in there. Now, Nsora Road has no traffic. For you who uses it as an access route, you are okay. And this leads you to Kisingiri Road. Kisingiri Road is the one that takes you to Upper Mawanda Road, but also can take you to Nsoba side, that is Chebando side. Now, looking at Chebando side, there is no traffic at all. But there's a part of the road that is being constructed, and that could get some holdups. That is the Chebando Ring Road. If you're trying to join the Chebando Ring Road, there is a bit of traffic on there. But after you've crossed over the part that is being constructed, there is nothing for you to worry about. Now, Chebando Central, all that side has no traffic. Now, if you're someone that chooses Chanja Komamboga Road, then as you can see, there is no traffic, so you are in luck this morning. You're able to move. The same goes for Waligo Road all the way. Now, please note that Waligo Road can connect you to Kanyanya side, and that Kanyanya side can lead you back to Kalere, but also can take you take you further on to Gayaza Road. But also, Waligo Road itself can connect you to Chanja main town, and it can also connect you to Komamboga, further into Komamboga, but can also connect you to Mpere side. So, as you can see, Waligo Road. Now, if you're coming from Prime side, if you are trying to get to town, instead of using Bukoto that I know has traffic at the moment, you are better off using this side because it connects faster. And the moment you cross through Mawanda Road, you're able to just cross through, and the next thing you are in Wandigea. But away from that, when we get back to Upper Mawanda Road, now the junction that has the road that comes from that takes you further onto Mawanda Road, you will find traffic, especially in that junction. Usually there is a lot of traffic in that junction, but when you cross over and you're using Kisingiri Road, now Kisingiri Road connects you to Lower Mulago Hill Road, and as you can see, when you use that road, you'll be finding no traffic until you get to the junction that brings you from Kafero Zone. This is why you'll be finding a lot of traffic. Now, you are connecting to the roundabout that has Binaisa Road and Katanga pedestrian path. It's why you'll be finding some bit of traffic on there. But when you join Binaisa Road, there is no traffic until you are closing into the Tuko roundabout, which is under construction. And I highly discourage using that road because, as you can see, if you're using the Tuko junction or roundabout to connect to Wandege and Haji Musa Kasule Road, you'll be finding some traffic, especially when you are trying to exit that roundabout. Nakasero Hill Road has no traffic. Chadondo Road, just slow movement, and the rest is okay. Lumumba Avenue has no traffic. Wandegea Road, no traffic. Bombo Road, no traffic. Buganda Road has just a bit of a hold up because of the junction at Queensland, but after that there is no traffic at all. As you can see, you will be safe to move if you are trying to get to these parts that I have just mentioned. Kafu Road has no traffic. Yusufulule also seems to be okay at the moment. Even if you're coming from the Acacia Avenue or the John Babia Avenue, you'll be finding just a bit of traffic because of the junctions and lights in there, but after that there is nothing for you to worry about. And well, that's it for our traffic updates this morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
He expected me to die like within the first 2 years.
Out of the blue, the child will get pains, especially in the wrists. And this happens commonly when children are starting to walk.
Was